Hi, my name is Kathy Hamrick. I am a member at large of Harrison County CEOS. I'm here today to show you how to make some cards with my friend Connie. It's not hard, and you do not have to have a lot of supplies to do this. So we're going to make this as quick as we can and show you that it is easy. Some of the supplies you will need is you got to have cardstock. You can't make a card without cardstock. You've got to have some means of cutting that cardstock. And while you could just use scissors, that will probably give you a headache, so you might want a paper cutter so you can have your lines and see how you're going to cut. You will also need some form of adhesive. I use the roller tapes, or my favorite is Tombow glue, which is a liquid glue. And you can use things like dimensionals, which I have here and we'll be using later. You'll use stamps, which I do have that. You'll use ink. And today I'm going to cheat and make it real easy. And I'm going to use what we, in our stamping world, call designer series paper. Now you can have die cuts, which is a whole nother world, that cut these out, or you can just use scissors and do what we call fussing cut. Connie's not a fan of fussy cutting, so I won't make her do that today. But you can use those. So to start off with, you're going to have to cut your cardstock right off the bat. The most common cut is either cutting by your cardstock, I need to tell you, is 8.5 by 11. So you either cut it 4.25 by 11, or you'll cut it at the 5.5 point. And so to remember that, we've always referred to it as a hot dog cut, which is especially favorite in West Virginia, or the hamburger cut. So those make it easier to remember. Now, you can say vertical and horizontal, but that's kind of boring. So I'm going to use my paper cutter, and I'm just going to cut this at 4.25, so it's going to be a vertical opening card. Now on my paper cutter, I have a scoring tool and I have a cutting tool on it. I want to fold this in half, and so that will be at 5.5, and I'm going to use my score tool on that. So now I've got the beginning of my card. Simple so far, Connie? Okay, so there's our base. Then I'm going to add a layer. Now, I'm not going to show you the finished card until I get finished, even though I have one all done. So I'm going to just start with the next layer, and typically when we layer our cards up, we'll go, as this one is 5.5 by 4.25, my next layer would be 5.25 by 4. So that is my next layer, and I can leave that plain, or I can add a little texture. And when we add texture, we typically use embossing folders through an embossing machine. I'm not going to do that today, but I am going to show you what that would look like if I chose to do that. So I'm leaving that layer plain. Now the next layer is going to be one more step down, so that will be 4.75 by 3.75, I believe, if I got that correct. Now this is where all the action happens. This is going to be the main focal on our card. So I have already cut out flowers because I didn't figure anybody wanted to watch that. So I have these two cut out in these colors. All of our cardstock, I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, have been one for 18 years, so all I use exclusively are Stampin' Up! Products. And our products are all coordinated in color, so it makes everything blend and work nice. So I'm just going to add this to my card, but I want to stamp on the front. And before I stamp, I need to make sure that I get it done right. So I always wait to add anything because I can always turn it over on the other side. So I'll get that ready, and I'm going to use what is called Gorgeous Grape ink. And my stamp that I'm using is a photopolymer stamp, so I can literally see what I'm stamping, which is a big help and gets rid of a lot of mistakes. And I'm going to let that ink transfer to that cardstock. Yippee, it worked! Now when you're using your photopolymer, you need to have some kind of support underneath that, because typically we use red foam in most of our stamps, and with the photopolymer, it is just that. It's just that photopolymer. So I use a piercing mat. Now if you had a good wooden table, which this one would have worked, but it will give it enough support, but I like to just keep these out at all times to use for good support on my inking. Okay, now I'm going to just leave that plain. I'm going to take some of those little dimensionals I told you about a while ago. I'm going to just pop those on the back. And these will just give a little bit of lift. So there we have that much done. Now I'm just going to adhere this white piece to the colored piece using my tape. Center it up. Okay. Oops, and then it's going to go right onto this layer. Okay, very simple, very easy. First card is done. Now I'm going to take the same design, do this all again, and step it up just a little bit, still using the same supplies I have here on the table. So, base card that was cut at 4 1/4 by 11. Then I'm going to switch the color this time. I'm going to take this starry sky blue and add it. I'm still not going to do anything to that layer. Then I'm going to come to the main focal point. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scoring tool that I used. Instead of cutting, I'm going to score. And I'm just going to start roughly, I think I'm measuring about 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to score. And then I'm going to go over about 1/4 inch and I'm going to score again. And I'm going to repeat that process until I'm happy with it. And if 4 is enough, I think I'm going to go 5 because usually working with uneven numbers is really good on cardstock. So it just has little raised bumps on it. You could do more. You could do the whole card if you wanted. I'm just going to do that much, and I don't know that I left enough room for my greeting. But you know what? We can switch it. Instead of going vertical, we're going to go horizontal with this card. So there are lots of ways to change a card and make it look just a little fancier. Whether it's changing the direction it goes. That's a record for things working right, isn't it? Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and add this on because I've stamped. I know it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and just place it on here. And when I scored, it made lines or it made raised bumps. And I'm putting the raised bumps face up. Okay, so here's what we have so far. Then I cut out more flowers. And you know, on this first card, I just cut out 2 that were together. Well, I cut out several pieces of greenery so that we can just kind of place these wherever we want. What do you think, Connie? 3 enough? Yes. Okay, so add some leaves in the color. I do too. I like these colors really well. Okay, I'm just going to stick dimensionals behind these. Don't need a ton of dimensionals because these little guys stick really well. Put those 2 on the back here. They're slightly raised. I'm going to add the greenery last so I can see where I need to push those little pieces in. Okay, then I've got mini dimensionals that I can put on the leaves that won't show up. If I use the big ones, they would typically peek out from behind here. And we go, so 1. And nope. Think we need 1 more or leave it at that?
I think that's fine. Well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 1. Maybe 1 more. Connie does this a lot with me, so she's used to this. Okay, now we're going to add 1 more thing. I mean, that looks pretty good right there, and you'll see that because I switched it, it now opens this way instead of this way. But we're going to add some pearls to this. And typically you add an uneven number. Remember you can hardly see my lines, but you do an uneven number. So instead of adding 4 flowers, I did 3 because it works better with uneven numbers, even with the leaves. I'm not sure that one I got the glue dot. Well, looks. I don't think I even got to add any in the bottom. I think I just stop with that. That's good. Okay, so this is basically the same card design, but look how different that looks. You would never guess it was the same thing. Now, you would always stamp something on the inside. I don't typically until I'm ready to mail these, but then you've got to do one more thing just to finish it off. So when the recipient gets this, they know that, well, this is something special coming. So you can take your envelope, and then I have a piece of the same designer series paper cut 2 by 6, and I'm going to just adhere that to the flap of the envelope, and then line it up with that flap, and then I'm going to take my scissors and just trim around that. And once that is all trimmed, I'll have a decorated envelope flap that coordinates with my card, so it looks like I really have it all together. I don't, but it looks that way. So there you go. You could also take that same embossing folder that I talked about earlier and do that. And I need to show you what that looks like. I'm not really going to finish this one, but if you can see there close up that has texture on it, so that would also give you a different look. So you can see again how much different this is. Just changing that up a little bit. So it's really easy to make cards. You can send sympathy cards, congratulation cards, get well, birthday. There are so many things. And what I have seen that happens a lot in my classes are people who lack in self-confidence by the time they leave a class, and I'm sure Connie would agree, they've got more confidence because they completed a project that they didn't think they could do. And everybody needs that assurance that you can do something, and this is easy to do. So thanks for joining us today. I hope this was beneficial to you and that you'll give this a try. If you'd like to see where I'm doing some other classes, you can check online with the CEOs and see if I'm at one of the conferences to attend some of those classes for more information. Thanks for watching.